Hey detailers, podcast sponsor Joe here from Order Fiber Australia. As pro detailers, we are all about using the highest quality products for our customers when it comes to compounds, chemicals, and ceramic coatings. But what about microfiber? Are you using cheap towels that get used once and then tossed into the bin? You need to try out our amazing Order Fiber range of microfiber. Seriously, it is the best stuff going around. Use our exclusive podcast code 15DDUP and get 15% off when you purchase any of our premium Korean or Chinese made microfiber. We have a wide range of products that are tailor-made to last a long haul, so you get the best value for money and your customers will appreciate it. Go to orderfiber.com.au or find us on Instagram to make your purchase and check out our range. Now back to the podcast.
Welcome to the Detailing Down Under podcast, the place for everything auto detailing in Australia right now. Here's your host, Dale Guthrie.
G'day and welcome to the Detailing Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Dale Guthrie. Back once again, another fortnightly episode. So, hope everyone's doing well and staying busy. So, been a quite busy few weeks for myself. So, and a few others actually been around as well. So, a lot happening. So, pretty cool turnout for the Stash group for the Ammo NYC show down there. So, it was cool to see everyone rocked up for that. And yeah, that was a pretty good turnout and yeah, well received by everyone by the looks of it as well. So, and also from what I heard on the weekend. So that was really good. So, yeah, and I'm pretty much fresh off from the Bush Wraps installer conference. So yeah, that was on the Friday and Saturday in Brisbane. So I only got back on Sunday from that. So that was really good. Got to catch up with everyone there, some new faces, some familiar ones as well. So, yeah, no, it was a good turnout and some good times had. So, but yeah, other than that, if you haven't got onto it already or heard about it, the Matty Gibb and Bill Baker training in Adelaide. So March 16, I'm pretty sure that is on a Saturday. So yeah, I'll attach some links and do some shares about that one once it gets a little bit closer as well. So we talked about it on our last episode, so that was pretty good. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one. So but other than that, not a lot happening from what I believe coming forward. So but yeah, this one been talking to this boy for a bit, so he's well known to quite a few boys, so it's finally good to get him on. So we'll get into the episode with Bow Down Detailing. All right, so let's welcome Izaak from Bow Down Detailing in Queensland. Good morning, mate. How you going?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. How are you?
Good. I got that name right?
Yeah, you finally got it right. Enough clarification. We got it right. No bow downs, no bow downs. It's all bow downs.
Yeah. I had to ask that question before. I'm like, yeah, because other people, how people look at it, they go, is it Bowden's? No.
Yeah. If we didn't have Dan the man, my name would make a lot more sense, I reckon.
Yeah. Nah. Thanks for taking the time out of your day. But,
yeah, not a problem. I'm happy to be here. Happy to talk about the industry and a bit of what goes on and what doesn't, what should.
Yep. And you know a few people as well. Like I've talked to others in the industry and they've mentioned you, and then we've been chatting for a bit, and you've put me onto a few other people as well. So that's been quite handy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there's definitely a lot to go on with what we see on social media. You start seeing someone doing something a little bit different, and you know we're really much a collective when it comes to the people around you and the people you see on Instagram and Facebook, and you know it's part of our community. It's the reason why this podcast does what it does, and it just keeps growing, and I hope it keeps growing. The more people that learn and realize that there's more coming from our industry, the better, if you ask me.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to bring everyone together and keep it positive and cheer on. But
that's it, man. That's it.
Haven't been doing too bad. I clicked over the 50 eps last one, so that was a small achievement, which I didn't, like I said in the episode, I didn't think I'd get past 5, I think. But anyway, we have it a crack.
Oh, no, you gotta just spice it up. It'll always go somewhere if you be persistent. I'm a clear case of that. I think anyone who's giving it a crack, that's all you can do. And the more persistent you are, the more it becomes a thing.
Yep. So where in Queensland are you based?
I'm based in Gatton, which is a small town between Ipswich and Toowoomba. Obviously, you've talked to Kent. Kent's one of my mentors, Kent from Glossworks. Kent and I have got along for a really long time. I've known him since pretty much when I first started. One of my mates was saying to me, hey, you should go talk to this guy. He's an abundance. He loves this stuff as much as you. And in the few years I've known him, would just become, it's like going to see one of my mates. It's not anything less or anything more, it's good. It's having someone in the community that if I'm not too sure about something, I've got someone to bounce back and forth with, which where I am, that not being a bit of a more of a niche market, not over congested with people all trying to do the same thing, having someone that's open to be willing to show you how things are done on their end and not trying to look at you like a opponent. It's good to see. It's really good to see. But so I'm from a little small town, little country town.
Yeah. How many what's the population there?
That's a good question. So what the region is called is the Lockyer Valley. In southeast Queensland. It's a larger population, but it is quite spread out. Like when I talk about a neighbouring town, usually you think, town to town, it might be, 5 minutes, but generally if you want to go to the next town over, you're jumping on the highway, and it could be a, 15 to 20 minute drive before you see the next town. It's a bit more spread out, obviously having a lot of farms in between everything. Just kind of keeps everyone segregated, I guess. But from the next small town, they could be even smaller again. I'm just lucky I'm in a town that's got a reception, because there's quite a few towns that you are literally in the middle of nowhere, and they drive all the way up in here to do their groceries. So a 30-40 minute drive to do some groceries.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when we think the world we live in and we struggle for phone service and stuff. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it does. Honestly, I think every time they bring out a new, that you've gone from the 3G to the 4G to the 5G, every single time I swear it's gotten a little bit worse, but they make it out like it's better. It's a bit of a pain, but we work with what we've got, I guess.
How long you been? Have you always been at your location where you're at?
So I actually started from the house that I was living in post-COVID. I was living there for roughly a decade. That's where it all started for me. Getting into detailing was starting off just cleaning my own car, and I started getting more comments on the weekly basis from people saying, "Oh, you love doing this. You always make sure you've got a clean car." Where that was a little town again called Hattonvale, which was even smaller than Gatton. The community basis, like I'd say on the social side of the community pages we had, because pretty much if you weren't on a community page there, no one knew who you were. You just kept to yourself because it was a small, quiet town. That community page had about 5,000 people, so that was my customer basis to start off with. When I first started, I was just a weekend warrior. I'd say about 6 years ago now. I went into super cheap with whatever spare money I had from working my full-time job, and bought a couple things from super cheap. So I got like my little Bissell wet vac, and your basic pressure washer, like your Ryobi from Bunnings, and a couple Bowden's products, not Bowden's products, Bowden's products. We don't have any Bowden's products, but that is something that gets everyone a bit excited, having something of their own. But we'll see what happens. Honestly, I think I'm too busy to dabble around with that. I know you can do simple things like your own wash and glass cleaner and stuff like that, but mate, I'm pretty easy going. I know that the industry changes all the time. Some of the products that I first started using don't exist anymore, but just bought a couple things, threw them in the back of my little Holden Astra, and went hunting around to find some work, and it all really came around where I'd just drop off. I used to just get a couple business cards, maybe 100 business cards. I'd walk around to all my neighbours. I'd take my dog for a walk and just slip a business card in a mailbox each house I went past, and I'd get 1 or 2 jobs from that. And I was stoked because I had a full-time job. I was still working a 50 to 60 hour week in a concrete factory on the weekends. If I could get 1 or 2 jobs in, and I was charging absolute peanuts. I wasn't even making enough money to afford the products that I was buying. But I was so stoked to be doing it. I was so stoked, just because it was like, yeah, this is something. And in my head, when I first started, I was like, you know what? When I retire one day, that's what I'll do as my my hobby to keep myself entertained through the week. And then some curveballs were thrown at everyone, as no one forgets. The whole world closed down for the funny side of 2 years.
Yeah.
And that was where some big curveballs came along for me. Going from doing maybe 5 cars a month to not actually having a full-time job. Just before COVID quarantined and locked down Queensland, I was actually off on work compensation as I had an incident where my finger was broken on the job site working in the concrete factory, and I was just a sitting duck pretty much. I was sitting at home. I wasn't allowed to drive under insurance purposes. Had my arm in like a half cast over my finger. Wasn't having a good time. Wasn't having a good time at all. And at the same time, I was going through some relationship breakdowns, and everything was kind of falling apart all at the same time. So at the lowest of low, I didn't have a job to go back to. I couldn't go see anyone. I couldn't even apply for new jobs. Everywhere was closed. I was impaired. I had to go through months of rehab after having my finger broken. I had to get two plates put in and screws the whole way up and down my finger, which, if I walked in to try and get a job anywhere else with everyone else who was fighting to get a job, another little part. It's a bit of a hard story to put together. There's so many finite pieces, but the factory I was actually working in, they closed up. They were slowing down work, obviously due to COVID, but at the same time, the company got liquidated. So after everything was starting to lean off, and they were making a process for you to be able to go to work still, I actually had my boss call me on the week that I'd finished my compo and I was going back to work, which was about a 2-month period. He called me, and I was expecting him to say, "Hey mate, like, you ready to come back to work?" And it was a phone call from him saying, "Hey mate, do you know any jobs going?" And I was like, that's not the phone call I was expecting. I was like, "Well, what's going on?" He's like, "Oh, well, we're being liquidated. 300 blokes lost their jobs." It was just a very, very hard time for everyone. And so I didn't have a job to go back to, even if I wanted to. And that's kind of what forced my thumb to go, I could try and make something from this and go full-time detailing. So I bought a few more products. I was one of the silly but brave. I don't know. A lot of people took money out of their superannuations. Some of them just to survive. Some because they thought it was money to go play with. For me, it was survival. I thought in my head, if I take a bit out of what's mine already and build something off that, it's a sink or swim. So I bought a couple products. I sold the little Astra that I was driving around in, and I bought myself a 4-wheel drive, and made up a handful of stickers for my car with my phone number on there, and bought myself some shirts, and I was like, all right, let's give this a crack. And obviously, being COVID, it was very, very hard to try and get any customer basis. I tried multiple different ways around it. A lot of them didn't work. It was kind of like I did the same thing, handing out letters and just going around talking to people. Like, I was I was a beggar. And for a while there, I was fighting to try and get the opportunity to do something, and I was anything that I booked in, be it one thing that I found was really popular for a while was just doing headlight corrections. So I was just wet sanding down headlights, either repainting them in 2K clear or just polishing them off. And that was kind of like something that I was actually making more money off that through a week than I was detailing. But at the same time, I've always had a bit of a hustle inside of me, and I was really good at buying and selling cars. So I would buy a car from the front of someone's yard for 200, $300 because I liked what I was doing on the detailing side. I'd strip the interior, give it a full detail, learn how to do mind you, learn how to do paint correction, which I thought was paint correction, on those secondhand cars that they weren't really a customer's car. It was mine at the time, so either it came out better or it came out worse, and I kind of learned at the same time. And just sold those cars to kind of like bought and sold cars to kind of keep myself afloat, and started the more I was doing that, the more I started picking up do's and don'ts, and then I started picking up actual jobs more than I was buying and selling cars, and that turned into me deciding that I could actually keep going with just the detailing. So I'd kept on the hustle and kept detailing for the long term, and stopped trying to make a bit of coin off cars. And it was very touch and go. Some weeks I'd be like, wow, I've got 6 cars of inside outside washers, and they were $200 a car, or whatever I was charging at the job. But in my eyes, I always thought, I was like, are they really going to pay me to do this? Like, it was like that imposter syndrome. Even though I realized as I became business aware, this is nothing to do with business. In my head, it was, I just don't want to starve this week, and I've got rent to pay. So if I was making enough to do those two, it was all good. And then I became aware that tax is the thing, and being part of owning your own business and working for yourself, there's actually things there that you don't take on straight away. Like, oh, all that money you're making, you actually have to give that to the government or justify where you're making that money, And that's when I started to wake up to a few things and went, oh, I need to straighten up what I'm doing and learn. I'll tell you right now, everything I've learned, I decided to learn the hard way. And from learning that, learning a lot of things the hard way, I definitely preach out to people that you should never feel ashamed to ask for help and get advice from someone, especially inside the industry that you're passionate and want to be a part of. That's a big thing that I've learned. But gone the days of just doing my basic car washes. I actually started reaching out to a couple people from car yards and stuff like that, saying, hey, I can do this, and trying to subcontract myself. And then I ended up with a super sweet deal with RDO Australia, which is your John Deere, your John Deere machinery. Yep. So a lot of your graders, skid steers and posies, all that kind of stuff. They took me on, gave me a crack, and they're like, look, we need someone for all of our new vehicles that are coming over. All of our machinery needs to be wax stripped. So apparently in transport, when they were bringing them over, they had to put transport wax on all their open raw metals because after they were coming off the boat, they were rusted out. Like they were causing $50,000 to $100,000 in damage and replacement parts because they were rusting out. So the easiest way for them to get around it apparently was put a 2-inch layer of wax over pretty much the whole thing, and they didn't take it lightly. So I was just left cleaning wax for a long time, but at the same time, I was so stoked because they just gave me that much work that I thought I was never going to stop. It was, hey, can you start at 5 a.m.? We've got jobs coming out the arse. We've got work for you until the end of time. And I was over the moon by that. I was like, oh my God, like I have work. This is amazing. And yeah, I really appreciate the experience from that. And mind you, back then I didn't have QuickBooks. I didn't understand how to invoice. I had no idea what I was doing, and it showed. It definitely showed. On the professionalism, being passionate about what I was doing, they knew that I gave a damn about what I was doing, but on the business side, I had no idea what I was doing. And that's something you learn along the lines. I think we're all the same. You know, generally when you start working for yourself, especially if it's something that you've chosen to do, it's the first time you've ever been a boss. You know, it's very it's not just being a boss. I guess it's everything. Depending on what kind of show you run, you're either the owner, manager, or you're the employee. You're the everything. That's one thing I've seen a lot of is that most of the blokes out here that we see on a collective on Instagram and stuff like that, they're generally like a owner worker. That some people have a team and they have a few people that help them, and you know I love seeing that stuff. Like seeing some of the boys, like obviously we know Scotty over at Velocity and how close of mates he is with James over at ProShine. Shout out to James. I've been waiting for someone to do it. I'm doing it, James. Love you, brother. The man gives me so much motivation. I had to say it. Had to come along. I have to say it. But yeah, just seeing people working together in the industry, that's the kind of stuff that you want to see a lot more of. That kind of collective goes a long way. You know, that friendly attitude towards people when it comes to not looking at everyone like they're a competitor. Like I say to everyone, there's more than enough work out there for everyone. But also, I think what we do, a lot of the time we get stuck in our own heads, you know. People don't spend a lot of time with other people when you work for yourself. And when you've got someone that you get along with, because obviously if you're working in the detailing industry and you don't like cars, you're obviously just in it for the money. I don't think there's any other reason to be in it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you know, if you're working with cars, it's nice to like cars. It makes sense. It's usually you like cars, and that's what gets you in the industry in the first place. But yeah, I just like seeing that friendly collective between other people that are in the same genre of work or whatever words you'd like to choose to use.
Yeah. No, it's funny that when you mentioned James and Scotty from Velocity, because I've noticed talking to a few of his, there is a sort of you obviously all chat together and you're all on the other sides of the country. So you got the WA boys, and then you got Ash from Riverside. I know he talks to them, and everyone knows everyone. Yeah, everyone gets along.
Ash is the man. Ash said that every time I mention Riverside, he's going to pay me $1, and So far, I've said Riverside twice. So I'm getting myself an ice cream cone after this. He actually just sent me a message asking, how'd your potty go? He was very excited. He's like, I can't wait to listen to this one. He's like, oh, some of them can get a bit boring. He's like, razz it up. Make it interesting.
Instead of the $1, it should be more shirtless reels that he keeps doing lately.
Oh, no. I'll pay him to stop doing them.
Oh, there you go. He's good value. So.
Oh no, Ash is great. Ash is a down earth bloke, and he's got time for anyone, and he loves what he does, and that's that's a big thing. You know, if you can't talk to someone that looks at it past the job and they see it for a passion, there's not much to talk about. If we didn't love what we do, we wouldn't keep doing it. Some people, unless you're in the sink or swim, I can't vouch for everyone. I've been in the sink or swim, and I'll tell you anything it's a character building moment. There's been multiple times that I just wanted to pack up and give up. I was a mobile detailer for roughly 2 years, just bouncing back and forth. Any kind of job I could pick up anywhere, I'd say yes. It didn't matter what it was. I've detailed tractors, I've detailed horse floats, caravans, tinnies, boats, jet skis, all your different kinds of cars. But anything to do with anything that needed some work, I'd give it a go. It didn't matter if it was something that I was niche on. I wanted to try it and explore my alleyways. And I also learned some valuable lessons from it all. Like it doesn't matter if you succeed in what you're doing, if you fail, as long as you take on a lesson from everything. I've had conversations with detailers where I've been absolutely schooled, and instead of just sitting there offended, I look back at it and go, you know what, that was a lesson. I learned something there. You know, I might not learn it straight away, but I'm not sitting there going, oh, I'm upset because of how they treated me. We're both professionals, and like, let's be real. In our industry, the title of being a professional is very much self-proclaimed. There's no real way to point out who's a professional or not. You choose to call yourself a professional. There's no right or wrong time to do it, but it's always your knowledge backs up what you do. And, you know, there's a lot of subtitles for what we do. There's detailers out there that, you know, they use the word professional, and you see they're doing basic in and out washings. I think professionalism is just more how they approach what they're doing rather than what they're actually doing. Which, you know, there's a few different things out there that are the same, but, you know, I think the title itself to people, to a detailer, personally means more than what it means to anyone else out there. Like I could go around, I know so many people now that I would point, a lot of the boys that we have on Instagram and Facebook that are posting on the daily and interacting with each other, I think we take for granted how in-depth we go with some of the work that we do. They really are more of a concourse, which is a word that not a lot of detailers use nowadays, but a lot of the detailers we've got out here, they put in the effort that no one else would. You go to your local in and out car washes, there's nothing wrong with that. As long as those boys know the difference between a car with a PPF, a ceramic, and just a general, you know, open sealant paint, nothing real there to protect it. As long as those guys know the difference, I have nothing wrong with people doing that. I think if we didn't have someone like that, we would the people that like to do in-depth work would be too caught up trying to people please with little jobs that we wouldn't be able to expand horizon.
100%. Yeah, you need the shopping center car washers. I know that they're car washers. That's different to sort of the detailing word. So you do need that. Otherwise, you're snowed under doing maintenance washes day in day out. So.
We're a glorified version of that. Professional. It's we want to go that extra level. That having someone that can just do a general tidy up. I definitely see. I see boys that do that stuff, and they want to learn. Like I work hand in hand. So to bring it back from when I went mobile to where I am now. I started doing some coating jobs. I was accredited by Osram's. I'd bought their polishers and a few of their compounds, talking to Justin down in Sydney. Bought a couple of their compounds and started to have a play. Learned some things, you know, like everyone does, checking things out on YouTube. But then I learned also at the same time some do's and don'ts from it all. And then hand in hand, learning some things from Kent, and then learning some things for myself, trying different products and different processes. A lot like, well, I know you've talked to quite a few people about this situation, but the first buff over picked up was a rotary. That's where I learned a lot of my do's and don'ts on these second-hand cars. But I had no idea what a DA was or what they did. To me, they meant nothing. In my head, it was, no, this is a buff. I was like, this is what works, and that was the first thing I ever touched. And learning to get a finish from that, when it came to a DA, I was like, oh, this is great. And I do believe that rotary is king, always will be. But at the same time, there's a lot of compounds out there that make light work of hard situations, and you don't even have to go to the aggression that you do with a rotary with some of these products on a DA, especially with new cars. The paint just gets thinner and thinner. I know that your DAs will produce more heat, but trying to get a quick, easy finish with less passes, you can't go past some of the DAs and the processes nowadays, honestly, especially with new cars. When it comes to your old schools and something that's been resprayed, the rotary gets all my love and attention.
But
yeah, so I got certified from Osram's to do some coatings. I was working out of my old boy's shed. I was doing maybe one coating a month, maybe two. Learning the in and out processes. To me, it was okay. This is like wax, except you work a lot quicker and a lot faster. And that. There was kind of no one. I never did a hands-on course, but I was also vigilant enough to learn as much as I could about it all beforehand. And shout out again to James. I'd sit there and watch his stories on the daily, and I learned a lot of my own personal do's and don'ts from the bloke. I preached it to him at the same time, but there's just seeing, okay, this is how someone does this. This is what other people use. I don't think that anyone has to do the same as someone else to get the same process. But like I said earlier, man, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do anything. There's a fast and a slow way. And if you're looking for the same outcome, it doesn't matter how you go about the job, efficiency is going to win.
Yep, absolutely. I'll touch back on your because I thought that's pretty cool. Like, if you haven't been trained by anyone or self-taught, like buying an old car and doing it up like you were, like that's bloody brilliant idea. Good way to train, and then good way to make extra money.
Yeah. Well, it was something I started. I never really saw myself as kind of like a car guy when I was younger. I was very big in my fitness and my sports. Sitting down in a classroom wasn't for me. I was very much a hands-on learner. Like when I was in high school doing woodwork, I was an A+ student. But when it came to math and English, I could help someone else do it. But when it came to doing it for myself, I was useless. Nothing about it interested me. Being hands-on was where my passion laid. And when I left high school, while I was in high school, I got my first ever car, saved up and bought a dual cab Ford Courier. Love that thing. But in my head, it wasn't a little utility ute, which it was intended to be. I slammed it on its ass, flip the leaves in the rear, put block spaces on the rear, wound the torsions down, put neons in it, put subs in the back seat, chopped up the inside of the door cards and did some ridiculous 6x9s in each door because sound systems just got me excited. Saved up every penny. I was working at KFC as a teenager, and Hungry Jack. Sorry, I worked at KFC when I bought my next car. But while I was working at Hungry Jack's, I saved up every penny, and come around to my birthday, I was like, Mum, I want a exhaust on my car. So she was like, alrighty then. Like, all these other teenage boys are like, they're asking for the newest phone out on the market or
PlayStation.
Who knows? Yeah, PlayStations and stuff like that. And between school, while I was at high school, started grade 10. I wanted to be a bodybuilder. So in my head, I was like, yep, I want to be a PT. So that was going to keep me close to being in a gym. But my mum thought, you need to have a trade behind you. So I actually went to TAFE to study a Cert 2 in electrotechnology, thinking, you can fall back to be a Sparky. And in my head, I thought, Mum, you have no idea how bad I am at math. Being a Sparky is not a good idea. But in saying that, like I did learn lessons from doing my TAFE course. But yeah, between school, my TAFE, and sporting commitments and school, there wasn't a lot of time for anything in between. Until as I started to finish high school. But yeah, cars. When it came to my youth, I used to take this thing out cruising. We had down in Ipswich, we had an old school style meet, which was called like your Thursday night cruises. Or before then, there's a couple boys that I still talk to now that are from around Brisbane with their own performance shops. They used to go down there. They had their crews, their gangs. It was very much a Fast and Furious vibe, and it was right at the right time where your VLs, you could still go buy a VL Calais for less than $5,000. You could go get a really nice Statesman or a VY Ute for under $6,000. Like the cars that are turning into more and more niche cars now were peanuts, so they were everywhere. And I'm cruising around with all these guys, and they're fat, different, 90s and early 2000s cars in this slammed on its ass farm truck with Canon exhaust and neons and subs blasting. And I thought it was the coolest thing. Until the day that I was driving to my partner's house at the time, and hit a roof, busted the radiator, had no phone reception, being in the middle of whoop whoop, and had to just drive it until I got somewhere I could get reception, and by then the motor was cooked. I got rid of that, and then that's when I bought the car that kind of started the journey for me to get as invested in cars as I have, and that was my Mark IV Toyota Supra. So I bought that when I was 19 years old for $9,000, less than 100,000 Ks on the clock. I still own it 10 years later. It's got less than 140,000 Ks on the clock. That's what happens when you decide to pull the car down and rebuild it from the ground up. But yeah, I bought. Oh yeah. I've sunk more into it than it's ever going to be worth. But at the same time, I got really invested in racing from my P-plate days. I bought that Ute. I was known as the drifter at school. As soon as we had a wet morning or afternoon, I'd jump in my car and I was cutting it, throwing the car around. It was that was like, I felt at home, and coming from a kid that I rode BMX, I rode scooters. I was always at the skate park. I was riding skateboards. I was always out doing something. Getting into cars was like the next step, and a lot of boys that have been into BMX as a kid can relate. Getting into cars is the next best thing. And a little warning to all those blokes out there with their cars: when the day comes that you sell them, the next thing you get into is cylinder mowers and your lawn. So just letting you guys know, if you can keep the cars and have the lawn, I feel for you, because that's where I'm at. And there's a couple of the boys out there, and I can relate to them, but they don't know. It catches up to them. They go from it goes the BMX, it goes the cars, it goes the lawn. I don't know why. It just seems to be a thing. If you have all three, oh, blessed. You're living the best life.
I've got all three. I've still got my original BMX from when I was 14. So.
Oh, nice. Is that an old Mongoose or?
Yeah, Mongoose. Yep.
Oh, love that. Yeah,
everyone
nice.
comments on it because I ride with my young fella, and they're like, "Where'd you get that bike from?" And I'm like, "I've had this since I was 14, and it's in mint condition, so you can obviously tell the OCD addiction there was from a young age." So
I definitely struggled. What's funny, you mentioned that the OCD side of things. I was a messy teenager. There's no doubt about it. I always wanted to make sure my car was clean, but apart from that, I'd say my life was a mess. I couldn't just say it was my bedroom; it was my life. Everything. I was a very not sure on anything for a long time guy, until I started making sense of things for myself. For a long time, I thought that I had to fit in somewhere, thinking that that's how it was. You kind of figure out where your place is, and I just never found my place. And then I found out that that's a gift in itself. If you don't feel like you fit in somewhere, it's because you were supposed to make something for yourself. And that was a big thing that I learned as I started started getting older, is if you feel like you don't fit in somewhere, it's because you were supposed to make a space for yourself. And that's what I'm living off now, and it's working out for me. 5 years down the track into business after starting full time in COVID and tooth and nail to get somewhere. I've got my own shop. I've been in my own space now. I was working hand in hand with a couple paint shops. That's another thing I'd love to see. I know this is a question you ask later on, but when it comes to detailers in the industry, I'd love to see some of the new detailers or people wanting to get into the industry spending some time with people at paint shops. They, with new cars, you don't know what to expect, but learning some of the things like the fundamentals of how things are being painted, how they're sanded, how colors are put together, different styles of paint. Working with a paint shop is going to be is going to be one of the quickest ways that you're going to learn things. You could jump on YouTube, but if you don't know the right questions to ask your phone or your computer, you're not going to get any answers. I guarantee 2 days in a paint shop, you're going to learn more than what you would sitting there watching YouTube in your spare time for the next 2 weeks. Spending some time hand in hand with a paint shop when you're first starting out, that's I think that should be like a fundamental law. I don't think that and it could be for 2 different reasons. You might learn what you can either give or take from the situation. You can either learn things you didn't know, or you can see how they do something and see how you would improve on it. And the painting industry it grows just as fast as the detailing. The paint guns, the systems, the clear coats, a lot of things are changing, but at the same time, keeping up with it and seeing what's happening around you outside of just detailing, paint correction, cleaning. That's one of those things I really think that people should pick up on, is spending some time with a painter or a painting panel. Ask any of the old school boys, a lot of them that are detailers now, that have been detailers for the good side of 20, 30 years, those boys started in paint shops. That's where they learned. That's where they started figuring it out. Obviously, I think they're more of a concourse level to a lot of other people out there. But that's where you learn the difference between a acrylic, a 2-pack, a direct gloss, a metallic, a pearl. A lot of people say these terms, but don't really know what they are, or they don't want to figure it out. And that can be a hard learning curve when you decide, oh yeah, this brand new car in a metallic, I think I'm going to rotary buff it, and then you realize that there's no clear coat left on the car very, very quickly. But it's one of those games. I think a lot of people first have their first disheartening challenge when they get a car that's been painted in a shop, and they haven't asked anything about the paint, and they're like, oh yeah, this looks like it's the same color as a car I've done before, and then they start buffing it and go, hold on, this isn't working. And then they try every different process under the sun, when if they knew, hey, where was it painted, and then they can get in contact with them, find out what they've gone to. You could sit there with a micrometer and go, oh, it's got this much paint or this much clear coat. And that'll give you a ground to work from. But if you talk to the bloke who's done the work that you're finishing off, there's a lot. You're going to get a lot further, a lot quicker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that because my background was from the panel beating industry. That's where I started from, and like you say, you learn a bit. You learn the painting side, like we did. Being in the country, you'd learn both, and then you go to mixed paint. That's completely different, measuring it to weight and on the scale. So you learn a bit, and then polishing was a side of things back in the day on the rotary, and that's all you knew. So
that's it. And we're miles away now from what things were back in the day. A lot of the time it was chrome bumper and everything was metal. And people nowadays, I know that it is a basic in the industry, but the way paint reacts on plastics, the way it acts on metals, the different ways that they're being painted. Cars aren't painted by hand anymore. Well, mind you, I don't know what all the exotic teams are doing with their cars, but a lot of mass-produced cars are painted by a machine. None of it's touched by a human anymore, and it reflects. You don't see things from a hands-on quality point of view anymore. I always with new cars, it's interesting to see where the industry goes. A lot of cars, a lot of new cars, a lot of paints that we used to get aren't even available anymore. Either people aren't manufacturing anymore, or they just can't find the resources to experiment and play around with and try all these cool colors. I think some of the paints we were using back in the day, we should have never got rid of, but there is paints out there that were harmful. But yeah, there's not a lot of people nowadays. Me being 27, a lot of people between that 18 to 30 years old, if they haven't grown up or worked with classic cars, they don't know how these cars were prepped and painted and looked after. And that's kind of something that scares me, when there's not a lot of people out there with the experience to look after these cars when you're trying to preserve them for as long as possible. Like, I'll be sad the day that I don't see Tiranas and XBs cruising around at car shows, because that they're no longer a thing.
Yeah,
I think the longer we can look after things and people can keep on the maintenance level with them, the better. I think that's experience that shouldn't be hidden. I think more people that can show us those processes, the better. New cars, it's almost the same process for every new car now. In my opinion, anyway. There hasn't been a lot of cars that have challenged me. I know that, well, except for the point where we get you've got soft clear coats or very thin clear coats. That just seems to be more and more reoccurring, really.
Yep. Yeah, it's what to do around that when they roll in, compared to like an old car rolls in, and you have to sort of bring it back to life in a way without grinding it all back to nothing and leaving no paint on it.
It's definitely a shock to a lot of people when they work with an old school car and they almost don't know how to take on the challenge. But having some experience in it, or spending some time with some old schoolies or people that work in the paint and panel industry, I think that's one thing that's just going to improve us. And that's anyone. Like, I think the moment you think you've learned it all, you've learned nothing.
Yeah, that's right. We never stop learning.
No, you have to adapt. Chemicals are changing all the time. Processes are changing. New cars, old cars. It's an abundance of knowledge, and there's definitely people out there, the ones that are niche on muscle cars and things like that. They sometimes they get lost on the new cars and vice versa. That's definitely an interesting thing about it, as well as you see. There's a lot less people that want to learn more about the older ones, and they want to focus on the new car paint protection, and that's it. If it's an old car, it's we'll do what we can, but that's as far as we want to go. When there's people out there that are like, I can still make that look mint. Like, some people have no idea that some of these old cars, if need be, if you needed to, you could get out the sanding blocks and some 2000 grit and go ham. They're like, what, you could do that? Like, that's a thing? You try to do that with a new car, that won't last 5 minutes.
So, how did your connection come up with Wax is Dead?
One of my customers, I actually had a post up about him today, Blingman HQ. So Blingman Ryan, he owns a accessory truck fitting accessory business, not too far away from me. Ryan's got a few of his own personal cars. At the time, I was already certified with Osrams, doing a couple coatings here and there. I was confident with the product and learning how to go around it. I still rate the product. I still keep it on the shelf. I still use it when I need to. I think it's great for certain things. But when I moved into Wax is Dead, I was washing Ryan's personal car, and as I was washing it, the soap was beating up ridiculously. I was loving it. I thought it was something that I hadn't experienced from my previous experience with coatings. Mind you, with a lot of the Osrand's coding jobs that I was doing, after I was coding them, I rarely ever saw the customer again because I showed them how to look after it. So it wasn't an often thing for me to work on a car that I'd already coded. It was possibly, if they'd taken it off into the bush. Four-wheel drives are a big thing where I am. Anyone who's seen my social media knows that I've got a big lifted Navara. And that's it kind of just fits into the narrative of where I am and the kind of cars that get around like majorly. Daily commuters are kind of like your little hatches and your family sedans. They're nowhere near as common as four-wheel drives out where we are. Obviously, there's a lot of bush tracks and things like that. So the only time I ever saw an Osrand's job was when someone had taken off in the bush and they had some pinstripes and they just wanted me to try and work some magic to try and dissipate it, dull down the scratching and just tidy it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was washing this personal car of Ryan's, and the way the hydrophobics were working, it just blew my mind. And I had to ask him. I was like, I was hitting it with the Canon, and soap was just like sheeting off. I was like, I was like, well, what's on this? And he's like, oh, this is the product. And he showed me the sticker on the pillar of the door, and I was like, wow, I want to use this stuff one day. And at the time, I didn't have the belief in myself that I was going to be accepted into it, because I knew that with a lot of other coatings, everyone's got their niche, and different coatings they want you to go through their process. I do know that I understand why they do it for quality control, but some companies, which each to their own, but personal preference, some coatings that I believed were an inferior product made you jump through a hell of a lot more hoops than some of the products that were willing to give you a go. So I think that was one thing I learned a lot about as well, is it didn't matter what product you were using. Everyone, the way they decided to narrate using their product was a lot differently. And when I jumped on and had a chat to Ben from Boschon, it was just easy going, good communication. Step by step showed me what I had to go through. By then, I had a bit of a following on Instagram and Facebook. I had previous posts. A lot of the time, if you can't have someone come and see you do something in person, or you don't have time to go up to them, or they don't have time to show you, if they can see that you've done something and you have confidence behind it, that's more than enough for them to want to, help you get along using their product. And moving to Wax is Dead was, I'm very thankful for the opportunity. And at the same time, I'm so happy that I'm using a product that I'm confident in giving to a customer. I've got customers now with Wax is Dead coating from pretty much the first week that I was accredited, and they'll come in once every 6 months for a bit of a tidy up, and it's still working the exact same way that I installed it, and I can't fault it. I'm super happy with the experience so far.
No, that's good, because there's a few of us, and that's taken off at the moment. Wax is Dead, so he's got a few installs out and about now, which is cool to see. So something else, something different.
Yeah. It is good. I know that there's ones out there that I'm not going to name and shame any products or toot the horn of others as well to make other people feel bad about what they're using. I do believe that if there's a product out there that the general public can buy, I don't think it should be possible for someone to install it like it's a professional range. That's one thing that definitely does bug me.
I'm hearing you.
Yeah, I don't. It's kind of like if you take into concept, say one product is like a Red Bull and one's like a Super Greens organic drink, but the one that's like Red Bull that gets thrown in your face like, this stuff's amazing, everyone should be using it, and then the organic drink that's it's humble, it's good for you, but not as many people use it, or it might cost more, but it actually has more benefits than the one that's just being flogged about. That's kind of an easy way to break it down. I think it's more they try to get in people's faces and fluff it up to be something more than what it is. And I just don't think that it's the right way to go around it. And you know that works for some car yards as well. I've noticed that some car yards don't even offer paint protection anymore because they've realised that it shoots them in the foot, because they make it out like it's this miracle cream that you wipe it on, you wipe it off, and then everything about your car is going to stay okay for the next 20 years. It's just not the fact, and they don't even explain to people how they should be looking after their cars. I think teaching your customer how to maintain what the work we are doing, regardless if it's a PPF install, a general correction, or a coating install. If you're not transparent enough with your customer for them to understand how to look after things, and you're making it out like it's something it's not, I think you're doing more damage for the industry when we already have a hard enough time trying to build it back up after the
what the dealerships have done.
Exactly. The dealerships have made it look like something it's not, and we have to make it look like something it is. And one thing that also makes it really hard for us is, a lot of detailers know this: when you first start coating vehicles, you're charging less than half of what a dealership is charging their customer for a product that not only is installed by someone with no qualification, minimal experience, they're wiping it on, wiping it off, barely any correction work done in between, or they're polishing with fillers, or none at all. There's no prep work. I've had customers come in that half their car's been coated and the other half hasn't, and you can tell that there's been a coating put on there because there's a sense of hydrophobics, and it's from the dealership because they've only had the car for a month or two, and it's like, well, did you decide that they didn't need the other half, or did you get told that car wasn't getting a coating? It's they make what we do a lot harder to for people to want to actually take on the experience. There's always an oldie out there. Don't waste your time on that crap. And at the same time, they'll drive their car around for 2 years and the paint starts falling off, and they wonder why.
I think that customers are getting better at avoiding not ticking that box anymore on paint protection through brand new cars. I think they're waking up to go, well, we take it to a detailer. That's what they do day in, day out. They know what they're doing.
I definitely agree there with that comment. I think also as well is having an established detailer in your towns where the dealerships work also brings a lot of likeness to the situation. That a lot of small towns that don't have someone that is a professional and cares about what they're offering you and knows their product. Those towns, the dealership gets away with it. And I'm not saying that what they're giving you isn't a product, but as we all know, I'm pretty sure we're all confident enough to say that they're inferior to what someone who is accredited in what they're using, and it isn't something you can just buy off the shelf or online for $150 and install it yourself, knows that they're selling someone a quality product.
Yeah. And if customers are getting it, it's usually just convenience. They're like, we got the new car, the dealership's here, they can offer it, let's just get it done rather than having to go and see the detailer down the road. We'll just get it all done here and put it through as one big cost.
Yeah, that's it. and also they one of the big things for people is the conveniency, because a lot of the time that if they get a dealership coating or a window tint package, generally that goes on to their finance. So for them, they're saying, oh, it's only $10 a week for the time that you're paying off the car. And with the interest inquired, I've seen people that have been given a protection package on their new little hot hatch or something, or the new cruiser. I'm telling them 6 months down the track, hey, you need to take this back. It's failed. It's not doing anything it's supposed to. And and over the lifetime of them paying off that vehicle, they're paying almost double what I would charge to do the job from the get-go, and give them that guarantee that they're going to be looked after for the lifetime of that car. And it's very transparent, like it's, with your years when it comes to a coating, how you treat a vehicle, You could have a 5-year coating that lasts you 15 years if you're looking after it and how it's being preserved and how it's being maintained. And same for a 10-year. That's like in the clauses when it comes to a lot of coatings. It's 10 years or X amount of kilometers that we're going to warrant the product for. But if that customer doesn't know how to wash it and they're smashing it at the car wash with an alkaline foam or something that's going to just absolutely beat on it, and a year down the track it's gone. If they've had that experience from a dealership, the dealership's either going to wipe some more on there or just say too bad, so sad. But being a detailer and teaching people the difference, that's the if they've done something wrong and you've asked them, a lot of the time people will they'll dob themselves in if they've done something wrong, and it's like, that's okay. If I'm going to fix it, I need to know what you've done so I can fix it. I don't want to go doing something I don't need to or shouldn't do if I don't know what I'm doing, if I don't know what I'm starting with.
Yeah, it's after sales care, and I think that bit of pride in your work too, once you are delivering the car and then offering the help and the maintenance kits or whatever to look after it and showing that you do care and you want it to last for them. I think that's key.
I'm pretty sure I'm like anyone else in the situation. And after you've done a full coating job, if you don't have to see that customer again for 6 months, you've done something right. You don't want them to have to come back every few weeks unless you're doing a maintenance detail. But in the reality of things, if you're a one-man band or a two-man army, if you're only running a small operation with a high volume of correction and coating work, a lot of the time you don't have time to be booking in those little jobs, because in your eyes, it doesn't become beneath you, but you prioritize the larger jobs than the smaller ones. Then that's something that I'm personally struggling with now. Having my own shop, I've got in my precinct, I've got enough room to fit almost 13 cars, and I'm one man. And it's people rock up, or I get met when people message to book in. They say, "Hey guys," or "Hey team." I'm like, no, this is one guy. I'm doing everything. I'm doing the marketing. I'm doing the bookwork. I'm doing the advertising. I'm doing the job. I'm doing the stock. I'm doing everything. And some people it shocks them, but in my head, I'm like, oh, maybe I should, while I'm still active and I can keep pumping the way I am. I'll say it straight up. Nothing for me is slowing down anytime soon. I'm definitely thinking about bringing on someone to train from the basics and build them up. That's definitely something I want to do. Offering window tint, PPF. I think that's every detailer's dream. If you want to have a successful business that you can still be a part of, even after you've got to the point where no one wants to be 55 years old or 60 years old still swinging off a buff because they didn't either set themselves up enough or have enough of a financial stability to step away from it all and give your body a rest. But I think while you're young and you've got the opportunity to train up and build a collective and be able to offer something to please pretty much every part of the industry that needs some sort of assisting, you don't get as far as you'd like. So bringing on some people to train up is definitely a big thing for me.
Yeah, I was going to ask that if you have ever thought about doing that, if you're that busy or you're happy being one man show. So
honestly, I love working by myself. The workload is not something that intimidates me. I don't try to put on too much work. I do the silly thing every once in a while where I decide I'm having a 90-hour week, but I'm pretty sure anyone who runs their own show does that, because we're in our head. We're like, if I absolutely smash it this week and I get all this done, I might get a 3-day weekend instead of the 1-day weekend that a lot of us put ourselves through. A lot of us, physically, there's only so much beating you can take before you realize you start to slow down, because what we do is physically exhausting. And if you're running your own show, you're a business operator. So in reality, you're never really giving yourself a break. I do it all the time. I know a bunch of the boys that do it all the time. Separating ourselves from our life, and it is our life. In reality, there's no home and work, it's with us all the time. We're always part of what we're doing. It's part of the collective of what it is. But having an opportunity to bring people in so you can lean off on certain things and focus more on what you want. Fatal finish. The boys in there, it's a clear example. You know, if you've got a good team working with you, you can expand further into your horizons. Like some of those web editors, man, they're sick. They're sick, and you know Jim wouldn't be able to take the opportunity to do things like that if he was hands on the tools, slaving away every single day. It's very, very hard to try and do everything yourself, especially when you want to broaden your horizons.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, so taking people on, man, 100%.
yeah, no, I agree, and especially what I'm doing as well, one man band, and then you throw a podcast in there too. That doesn't help.
No, but I love that you've done it, man. Honestly, I don't see myself as much of a potty person. I'm not super tech savvy. But podcasts in general, be it whatever you're talking about, man, it's worth having just for the sheer fact that it's a collective and you get to hear different people's stories, experiences. It's awesome that you're doing it, man. Like honestly, it's big pats on the back for what you're doing, man, because I know it's probably hard to try to juggle everything like that. But look at the kind of experiences that are coming your way from it. You know, the opportunities to go out and meet new people and travel and things like that. Man, it gets me G'd up. I want to do it. I want to go do a bush wraps course. I want to learn more about PPF. I want to learn more about tint. I want to learn as much about the industry as I can. You know, I don't ever want it to slow down. I love spending time with, like I said, having someone that's like-minded that you can talk to as a friend, because they relate to you in so many different ways. You have a mate who's a detailer as well, and you can talk about things and they understand it. I go home and talk to the missus about how some numpty resprayed half a car and didn't blend in the panel properly and used two different clears. And, you know, she's just looking at me smiling away. Like she has no idea what's going on. But when I can talk to someone that understands it, you know, it's nice to be able to have that communication and conversation, and you learn so much. For those youngins that are getting into it, go find someone that's doing a hell of a lot better than you and have a chat with them. You know, they're not going to hate on you for giving it a crack because they were in the exact same position, the exact same. It doesn't matter who you are. Like if you get along with each other at face value, you've got someone that you can go to for anything and everything. I was in the situation. I still am. You know, people that have taught me things, I guarantee you there's things I've taught them at the same time now. And when it comes to new people coming into the industry in my area, I personally get offended when they start a new business and haven't come and had a chat to me. It's like, hey, you know, do you want to be somewhere towards where I am and where I'm going? I'm like, because if you want to learn those things, wouldn't you go to the person that's close to you that knows some ins and outs? So I get offended. I'm like, I want to have a chat with you. I'm like, I want to teach you something. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it at all. I'm like, there's no cutthroat if you ask me. I think if I look at the scale of things, like just in the Lockyer Valley, there'd be over 200,000 cars. And at the moment, after a couple of local shops have sadly closed down, I believe I'm one of the only running detailing shops or shop fronts in the Lockyer Valley, which is it's good for me in business side of things, but I also hate it because I got no one else to relate to.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want someone to be able to recommend, you know.
Similar in our area. We have one guy that's just fired up, and I asked him, if he wanted to swing by, and he was just talking about coatings and stuff. But we did one. One's closed down for now, and that you sort of hear the flow-on effect. You get more phone calls for maintenance washes and stuff, and you just can't do them anyway half the time. But there's a few of us. Like on the weekend, there was a car show. I mean, another local guy just talking about how busy each other we are, and it's pretty cool. So
I love car shows, man. I actually run a car show down here in the Lockyer Valley with my old boy. We run a car show like any kind of car. We've got space for four-wheel drives. We've got old school JDMs, old school Aussie builds, muscle cars. It's the biggest local car event that we have monthly. The third Friday of every month. We call it Schulte's Car Meet. My family background, we're butchers.
Right.
I'm obviously, they cut meat, I cut paint. Yeah, but we've got quite a large car park where the store is. So yeah, I came to my old boy one day because he used to see, when I was driving around on my P plates with my Supra. I had my mates, like one of the blokes who worked at one of the local car washes. He had a 32 GDR with a bunch of Nismo things on it. He was all for it, and he was there. Like, he was a few years older than us, but he had a turbo car. And back then, I had no idea. Like, I'd never been in cars like that. And after buying and selling cars and owning almost or over 100 vehicles in the past decade, I learned a lot. Buying cars that were broken, needed things fixed, things that I knew I was capable of doing, and then building my own car. I think I got into roll racing.
Oh, yeah.
Roll racing was I used to go out there. It was like my Friday night footy. I'd go out to Queensland Raceway and watch all the boys in their street cars that are making 600 to 1,000 horsepower, and thought, wow, that's so cool. And then the street scene was really starting to die off. The car show that we were running, I was running with my mates. We'd pull up at the car park at my parents' shop, and there'd be maybe 10, 15 of us, and that was enough cars together to draw in a crowd of people that wanted to pull in off the highway and have a look and then head back out. And it started building and building, and we'd have local events, and it was like bring your car down, we'll have a bit of a show, and then we'd go for a cruise up the highway, a very spirited cruise, if you call it. And yeah, from there, I said to my old boy one day, I was like, can you advertise this on your business page? Like, can we make something out of this? And now it's a monthly event where we get between 200 and 500 cars rock up. It can go absolutely off. It's awesome to see, and I love that it's turned into something like that. Love car shows, but at the same time, I rock up there, and now I'm the only person doing what I do, and I kind of feel lost. I feel like a bit of a celebrity because I do see quite a few of my customers, but at the same time, not a lot that I can relate back to, which it's a bit disheartening. I want there to be more out there, or people that want to be in it. I'm like, if you're interested and you don't want to go working for yourself, come up, have a chat with me. I'm like, I'm looking for someone. That might be you.
Yeah, no, that's always the thing, been going to car shows, just to either get your name out there, or you meet other people and you're always talking about work. How much do you do this? Do you do that? How much for a job like that? And you might not get much out of it. Some people are quite tight these days with their money, but there is still money out there. So yeah, you'd be surprised. Phone calls you get out of it later on. So
you definitely notice the more value that comes from your work, and the more people are willing to pay for what you are offering to give them as a service. You find more that the people that come to you are either very passionate about their vehicles, or they're business owners, which to them it's a benefit. They get a super clean car, it's getting looked after, and it's also a tax offset for them as well. And that's one thing I don't think a lot of people want to talk about openly, but it's a great way to do it. Why wouldn't you, if you're running your own show and you want to have a nice vehicle that shows that you're being successful, success is always gravitates towards success. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that whatsoever. If you can flex big money and you're doing well for yourself, flex it. I don't think there's anything to hide from feeling like you can't enjoy all the hard work that you're putting in.
100%.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we might get into me 6-stage questions. Haven't done these for a while, so
let's do it.
Might be the first for the year. So,
look at that.
What was your first ever detailing job? Did we talk about that?
Mum's car. So, yep. It was pretty much on the weekends. if I wanted my $5 allowance to do whatever I wanted with, I had to wash her car. And my mum she's a picky, so it kind of gave me incentive. It was probably the only time I gave a damn about cleaning anything. Was I was like, oh yeah, I want that $5. I want to be able to go and buy myself some soft drink or something next time I'm sitting at the skate park. You know, being a kid at the skate park in the sticks.
Yeah.
You couldn't roll up around the corner and there'd be a service station. If you wanted to go to the servo to buy a drink, you were pedaling your push bike for a good 2.5 hours. So yeah, washing mum's car, which that was the first job that I was ever getting paid for. You know, I think she never intended it to turn out into what it did, but it did.
Yeah.
But yeah, first paid job as registered business, besides it being a putty job, was mine's car that someone had bought and wanted tidied up. So it'd come out from, I think it was Western Australia. This thing had actually come from. It was completely caked in red dirt inside and out. It was a dual cab Hilux.
Sounds
so
like
they wanted
WA,
me to,
yeah.
yeah. So wanted the high vis stickers stripped off and a bit of a paint polish on the outside, a bit of a headlight restoration. Had bullet casings and a bit of grubbiness here, there, and everywhere on the inside. So I was like, yeah, I'll take on the challenge. But yeah, that was the first. After doing that job, it was I think I booked that one in roughly a $800 job. And after being paid for my full day's work, starting at 5 in the morning and finishing at around 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, I was like, holy shit, like they paid me to do this. And I loved every minute of it. I was sweating my guts out. It was the middle of summer, 38-degree day. I've had no shade, no sail. And I loved every minute of it. I was like, I worked my ass off and I got paid what I was getting paid on a weekly basis in one day. I was like, holy freaking shit, this just happened. and that just blew it up from there. I don't charge absolute arm and a leg for everything that I do, but I don't offer any of my mini details or anything like that anymore. Maintenance washing, I'd love to be able to offer that stuff. I'd love to train up a junior to be able to do maintenance packages and care packages. The minimum I like to do, every detail engine bay is done. I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm not going to make the inside and outside of a car look amazing. And then you pop the bonnet and it's covered in spider webs and dust. So in, out, engine bay was like the minimum I was going to. And then from there it was in, out, and an enhancement polish. And then from there I didn't offer anything more or less. It was either you wanted interior specific or you wanted paint correction. And then the option for paint correction was coating packages, PPF and stuff like that. I love it. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. It's not for me as of yet. Obviously I haven't had the training, and also setting up my shop to be able to handle that kind of workload and have it sealed and clean enough. And with the technology in PPF now, having kits where you can have things cut out for you, where it's very straightforward in installation. I think you'd be stupid not to. And especially being a detailer, I think a lot of detailers get that little curveball the first time they get a car in that has some sort of PPF, and they're like, hold on, wait a second, like they booked this in for a polish package, but it's got this on it. And in your head, you're like, do I polish it, or how do you look after it? And that's when they start asking questions. Some of them, you've got the self-healing abilities where a bit of hot water or a heat gun is going to fix things that you can sit there on a buff and all you're going to do is ruin the PPF. But learning what those things do is always a benefit. Don't shy away from it just because it's not something that you want to do.
Film's not for everyone either. Like, yeah, it's definitely a challenge and a headache. So I know most people should agree with me, but yeah, it is. So, but yeah, if you're up for it, for a challenge, definitely have a look at it. But yeah, it's not for everyone. So
no,
coding's
definitely not.
Way easier.
Yeah, that's what we reckon, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think coding in itself is something completely different to correction. Correction, I think, has got so much inside of it all. It's like, where do you stop? But coding, you kind of pick where you want to stop. Some people, I know there's companies out there that preach that you don't even have to prep these coatings. Do an iron decon, do a IPA or wax and grease removal, slap it on, wipe it off, walk away. I don't personally believe in doing that, but I know that there's companies out there that preach it. They're like, no, you can do that.
Yeah, you
But
can. But yeah, no, not.
I think there's a lot of people on the same side of things. As no, we like the polish. We've got not we don't feel bad about picking up the buff.
Yeah. Speaking of buffs, what's your favourite polisher?
Oh, I'm stuck on the Milwaukee range. I'm a M18 boy.
I seen that the other day.
I
I
know
was
that
going to ask you about that.
your battery powered
Yep.
Milwaukees. Yeah, man. Yeah, no, I've been stuck on them. Yeah.
How do they go? Pretty good.
Oh, I love them. I love them. They've got like, for the DA, they've got the right amount of throw. They're very well balanced. If you decide, obviously you've got a different range of batteries. That was one of the big things that made me choose a Milwaukee over a few different buffs on the market. I still have my Osrands. I still pull them out every once in a while if I need to sit on it for a long time. But I think I've just gotten so used to using the Milwaukee. It's my go-to with the Milwaukee range. Having a different variety of batteries. Um, the speeds, they still keep on par with everything I need. The amount of throw, like from factory, the size of the pad that I'm using, I can use a 6 or a 6.5 inch pad. I can absolutely cake through jobs that I need to with that setup, with the right pad and polish combo. I'm a big advocate for 3D car care products. I absolutely love one. I love my ACA 510, my cutting compounds. I still use some of the Body Shop safe cutting compounds as well. Yeah, I love to mix it up between their foams and their walls. Awesome stuff. But yeah, the Milwaukee range between the rotary and the DA, I love them hand in hand. They're quick and easy for me. I climb up. I do trucks. I do boats. I do a bit of everything. So having something that I don't have to worry about plugging in the lead or worrying about getting tangled up or anything like that, or a trip hazard when you're climbing up a 10-step ladder to polish stacks on a truck. You want something that you can kind of just hold in one hand while you're climbing up a ladder and feel confident that nothing's going to grab, or there's nothing worse than climbing up a ladder and then realizing that your PowerPoint's not turned on.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
good to have a go at one actually. So
yeah, oh no, they're great, man. They're great. Like my life cycle, I've just bought a new DA actually. I've still got my original one that I first bought. But that thing I have dropped and beat on. Like I'm hard on the gear when I work with my tools. I'm not a stranger to getting them to do the job I need them to do, and that's that. So that lasted me 2 years. The brushes in it they're starting to feel a little bit like they're starting to bead out. I haven't bought a service kit, but I guarantee if I pull it down, give it a service, it'll be like brand new again. Apart from that, I also love my little battery powered PX, my Flex. I love that thing.
Yep.
Yeah. It's my little baby rotary. It's my little baby orbital. Yeah, I try to stick. I don't know why I got into the battery range, and I love them. I think they're great.
Yep.
Yeah. Real handy buffs. Real handy.
No.
Yeah.
If you could have one car, what would it be? What you've already got?
Oh,
we already got it. I mean,
I've got an 1100 horsepower Mark IV Supra, so I think that's a lot of teenage dreams right there. Dream car. If it's a dream that I can reach, I really do love the R35 GTR platforms. Obviously detailing all different kinds of cars, and also having my old boy races in the Trans Am series. So your old 60s and 70s models, Mustangs, AMCs, like your Javelins, your Hornets, Ramblers, heaps of different cars that are running in that series, and growing up around V8s, but also being a kid watching a shit ton of Fast and Furious. JDM just did something for me, and watching the American series of TX2K. Obviously, me doing roll racing as a hobby on my weekends. So once every month or every 2 months, I would head out to the track and cut stick in my car, see how fast he goes, and it's done some pretty impressive things over the last 2 years of my roll racing career. From where it came from, and just being a kid from the sticks, going up against some of the biggest performance shops in Australia, and putting my car toe to toe with them. They're like, who is this guy? Like, what the hell's going on here? Like, it sent some shockwaves around the community in it. But yeah, TX2K in America with their straight line roll, half mile and full mile racing style shit. An R35 GDR, really ticks the box for me. Seeing the potential in those cars that can, you do a bit of a custom build on them, and you might go $1 million into one of them, but you've got an all-wheel drive car that makes 3,000 horsepower and absolutely rakes. Something about speed, I can't get past it. The other thing that kills me is the automatic gearbox. I love the clutch pedal. I actually had a power glide gearbox, so a two-speed glide in my Supra. And I've just opted to shift away from that, doing less roll racing and make it more of a street-friendly car. Being as busy as I am, I don't have enough time to just enjoy the car for what it is without just taking it to the track and beating the hell out of it. So yeah, just making it a manual again, so I can cruise around, take it for drives to cafes on weekends, or go for a cruise up and down through the mountains. Racing up and down the mountains is something I was big on as a teenager, but I don't want to incriminate myself. But yeah. So doing some just cruising around in it is more than enough for me. I do like going camping in my 4-wheel drive. I like to use my cars and test my products. There's nothing more I like than going and getting something absolutely filthy and then finding out what I need to do to fix it. Because there's always that curveball when someone brings me a farm car that has had God knows name stuck to the inside of the chassis rails, and I've got to figure out how to take it off without doing damage.
Yeah.
Curveballs everywhere. But it's all part of the fun, I guess.
Putting out spot fires.
Oh yeah.
Favorite detailing tool or product?
Oh, I didn't think about this question, did I? Favorite tool or product? Oh, damn! I should have thought about this question. It really depends. Like if I'm looking at more on the outside of it really comes down to if it's got to do with how I'm washing the car, how I'm doing the interior, or how I'm doing the outside. If I break it down in threes, doing the outside, honestly using quality washers and wash mitts, looking for the right combination of being pH neutral or safe for coatings, and then stripping off a lot of contaminant on the paint at the same time. That's one thing that I always swap it up with. Some people like a wash as a wash. I'm like, yeah, but there could be a lot of benefits from what chemicals you're using. And then obviously using Joe's Auto Fiber products as my washers and drying towels. Awesome stuff. But then when it comes to my interiors, I've started using more compressed air. Tornadors, I love that. Using the right chemicals in your Tornador, you can blast through anything and everything. There's the right chemicals out there to do your leather, all your different fabrics. Cleaning out aircon vents safely, and in those nitty gritties that you didn't think you could get to. they're awesome for it. I still use my big boy blower I use my big boy blower on the inside of a car more than I do the outside of a car.
Yeah, I've been doing that. Yeah.
It's I learned that one from Kent when he first ever got a blower for the shop, and I went and bought one the next day. Came from Glossworks. Um, yeah. And after seeing him do it, it was like oh my god, this is a thing. So it just started happening with every single car. It was blow out the inside. I'm like, if I could do it outside the shop and then bring the car in, yep, sweet. But a lot of the time and that's like process. Some people vac the car first or do the inside, then the outside. I do the outside, then the inside. I don't know why. I started doing it and never stopped. And then product wise, when it comes to anything on the polishing side, 3D car care. Any of their products when it comes to my cutting compounds, I've tried dozens of different products, and as soon as I started using theirs, I got stuck on it. I've picked up other compounds I've used in the past and gone, oh, I kind of missed this. I'll give it a go, and I use it for 2 panels and go, I remember why I don't use this anymore. and then I'm straight back on it. It's a hard bandwagon if you use their pads and their compounds and polishes. They go hand in hand. If you're using them together, I don't think there's any job I haven't been able to tackle with it. In all honesty.
Yep.
They're straight up. They do the job for me. Can't go past them.
No, awesome.
I've got to thank Ben from Brisbane Finishing. He brings me all my products. That's one thing I do appreciate in the industry now is recognised shopfront detailers that have local companies that come out and offer to deliver products and sample and everything like that. That's one thing that I really, really appreciate seeing in our industry is, paint panel shops that sell some product as well. They don't have to come out and give us a hand and show us some different things, but they do. And I don't think they get enough gratitude for it, in all honesty.
No, that's good. At least they can come to you. Yeah.
And some of the boys that they're driving, they're driving an hour, 2 hours to come out to talk to people and show us what they've got, and it might sway a couple different things, but at the same time, it's all part of the experience. It's really good.
Nice. I think we spoke about the biggest tip for detail. I know you mentioned it earlier about that one.
To break it down in the simplest way, when it comes to tips for anyone starting out, if that's the question that you're asking, is reach out to someone. Don't feel like don't be intimidated by someone who's in the same industry or look at them as competition or anything like that. And also another thing is too, if you're freshly starting out and you are inexperienced, don't feel that you have to jump straight in on coatings or paint corrections. If those are things that you want to do, that's fine. I have friends that have been in the industry longer than me. They run mobile shows where they're doing traditional details or maintenance details, and some weeks they make more bang for buck than some of us paint correction and coating specialists. If you set yourself up and you get a process that works for you, that's all you need to run by. You don't have to be doing what everyone else is doing to be where they're at. It's at the end of the day, it's learning along the way. A lot of us detailers start from a mobile aspect because of reaching out to customers. Getting a shop is mainly beneficial to those that want to do a lot of in-depth work. Being mobile, there's nothing wrong with being mobile. I think it's just getting into what you're comfortable with and working forward on that. Ash from Riverside is a clear example of that. Love Ash. He loves to learn and he wants to do things. Confidence on certain things. He doesn't try to overachieve, but when it comes to interior details, he wants to be the best he can be when it comes to that stuff. He wants to be known for it. And there is nothing wrong with that. And, success can come from different alleyways and there's not just one revenue behind how to make success.
100%. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
pick your market and run with it, and that's
yeah. And
good.
and there's always an option to change. There's always an option to change things up later on, but don't feel that you have to push and outreach too hard. And if things aren't working out for you, start again, or take from what you've learned and rebuild. There's no shame in figuring out the way you were going about things wasn't the right way, and taking a step back to take a step forward.
Yeah. No, good words. And you probably talked about interests outside of detailing. Anything else?
I'm that busy. I try to be more of a homebody nowadays, but yeah, so taking my car out and racing was a big thing for me last year. I'm a lawn daddy, so doing renos around the house and pulling out the cylinder mower and keeping my wintergreen nice and pretty is something that I have found that I enjoy quite a lot. I've got a partner, no kids, so I'm living. I don't know what do you say? I'm living it easy at the moment. No, I don't have too many. I don't have too many things trying to pull away my attention. But no, I love being a part of car events, community. That's pretty much a breakdown of me in my spare time. I'm a pretty chill dude. I like going out, trying different foods, and just getting out and about when I have a chance. If I have a chance, I don't like to sit around too much, but at the same time, I like to have the house looking prim and proper.
Yep. No, good. No, very good stuff, mate. So, all right, we might wrap it up. You've been very generous with your time, which has been good. So,
well, good, man.
No, very good.
No, not a problem at all. I've got to get back into it soon. Otherwise I'll be working all night again.
Yeah, me too as well. So, how can anyone reach out to you if they want to have a chat to you? And
look, if you want to have a chat, guys, my mobile number's on my Facebook or Instagram. Bow Down Detailing, Facebook or Instagram. If you want to get in touch with me, and I'll put this one out there. If you want any of my stickers, I'm happy to send a sticker out to anyone. If you send me your address, I'll send you off a sticker. It's just something out there. Some people like to listen and some people like to share. I love giving away stuff. I don't know why. I give away 50 shirts a year. I give away 400 stubby coolers, and I put a sticker in every car that I do. So if you want a freebie, hit me up.
Slap it in your studio somewhere. So that'd be good.
Yeah, why not?
Now we see that other people wearing other guys' shirts and stuff and all sorts. So that's good.
Oh yeah. I honestly, a lot of the time I missed out when people were doing a run of shirts. So hopefully this year, when some fresh jumpers come out from some of the other boys, I'll be able to grab one of theirs. I don't think I'll be doing jumpers this year. I'm trying to aim for some bigger things for this new shop that I've moved into. I'm trying to spruce it up coming into next summer for more than one reason. I want it to look the part, but I also want the shop to be a lot cooler for me coming into summer. It's we'll have a 38, 40 degree day outside, and it'll be 50, 55 inside the shop, and trying to work just gets harder and harder.
Yeah, I don't know how you boys do it out there without aircon. I've got aircon down here. We're in a cold climate down here.
Yeah, look, I live across the road from a bakery, mate, and the missus is shocked that I haven't put on 20 kilos. And it's because I'm just sweating it out.
Oh, awesome. All right, we'll wrap it up, and thanks for your time.
Cheers, Dale. Yeah, really appreciate it, mate. Really appreciate it.
Nah, anytime. All right, cheers, guys, and we'll talk soon. Next step. Cheers.
See you later.
Yeah.
That was another episode of the Detailing Down Under podcast. Subscribe now for everything auto detailing in Australia.